Well, good evening, social media. Welcome to Real Fellas Talk Sports. It's Wednesday night, it's 8 o'clock, my favorite time of the week. You know, I call it happy hour. And here we go. I'm with my distinguished panel. Man, do they know their game? And we're going to spend some time breaking down the NBA playoffs, specifically the Eastern Conference Finals, head scratcher. And then we'll review the upcoming NBA Finals, which start tomorrow night. But I will not go a step further without introducing my guys. And we're going to start with Circle City's finest, Mr. David Burnett. Mr. Burnett, good evening. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great and just happy I wasn't sitting in the grandstands that I normally sit in where the tire flew off and went over the grandstand. Could have hit somebody, but hit a car. Oh, boy, you know. But otherwise, among the 330,000 fans, I was there for the 51st time. The greatest spectacle in racing. That's why this is the sports capital of the country.
That's debatable.
That is unbelievable, though. But 330,000, that's like 3 Ohio State games all at one event. That is, what a traffic jam that must be.
It is a traffic jam.
And we also have Mr. Robert Kinzer, Big Bob. Oh, I'm sorry. Bob, how you doing this evening, sir?
Hey, Chuck, you think you're cute. Chuck, I am feeling so good. I'm happier than a one-eyed gynecologist with a thimble.
Oh, well, isn't that interesting? I like the hat too, Bobby. That's a new one. Looks good. I'm glad you could join us. And without going a step further, last but not least, Mr. Larry Abels. Let me tell you about Mr. Abels. Man, he ruled that neighborhood. I don't care if it was baseball, basketball, or football. He'd always be one of the first guys chosen. I'll take Larry.
You kidding
Mr.
me?
Abels, how you doing this evening, sir?
Who knew?
I'm good, Chuck. Thank you for that introduction. You might be exaggerating a little bit.
A lot.
No, just a little bit.
There we go.
So listen. And by the way, we're missing our friend, Mr. Earl Rush. He'll join us, I think, next week. But shout out to Go-Go, the dancingest guy I know. And Go-Go was one of the few folks, I think he's the only person on this panel who had Miami to win that series. And we're going to spend some time talking about it. Let's kick it off now. And I'm going to start with you, David. What in the heck happened in that Game 7? Well, actually in the series, but specifically in that Game 7. Just your initial thoughts. And we're going to spend some time on that.
To be honest with you, I think in the end, we can't put it all on Joe Mazzola, the former interim coach, now permanent coach of the Celtics. We can pick on him. But in the end, it's about Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown not showing up. I know Jason Tatum got his ankle hurt, but even if his ankle hadn't been hurt, he would have come up small. The problem is Boston came up small in way too many games. And in the Game 7, when it mattered, at home, after winning 3 straight games, they laid an egg. That's what happened.
Yeah. It's interesting. I had a discussion with somebody a week ago or so, and they was like, man, Miami plays hard. They play harder than most. I'm like, these are professionals in playoff games. What do you mean they play harder? I didn't believe that. But I'll tell you something. The other night, it did look that way. Bobby, what did you think happened in that Game 7?
Well, what I think happened is they need to send that whole Celtic team to the Wizard and get them all a heart. Because I've never seen, you can blame it on the coach, but the players play. You know what I'm saying? And I've never seen just attitudes so wishy-washy, cavalier. But I tell you what actually hurt them, the old saying, live by the jumper, die by the jumper. They just want to shoot threes. It seems like if they don't go in, they get discouraged and can't play no more.
That's a good point. And Larry, I want to get your thoughts on what happened and your thoughts, your initial thoughts on Game 7. But it looks like the whole league shoots jump shots, but Boston wasn't even moving and cutting and setting a pick. Like, what happened in Game 7, sir?
Well, I think they were playing a good team, and I got to give Boston credit for coming back from 3-0. They didn't really just roll over. They fought, but Miami's a good team. And sooner or later, there's a reason that nobody's never come back from a 3-0 deficit. And I think a lot of people thought going into Sunday's game that Boston was going to do it. Miami just played a better game on Sunday, and like Bobby said, they tended to rely on jump shots even when they weren't dropping. All they did was shoot jumpers, and they shot like 20-something%, 29%, something crazy like that.
It's crazy. It's really so even tactically, Miami did something that I'm just surprised in a Game 7 at this level it would disturb a team, but they played a little bit of 2-3 zone. They played a little bit of 2-3 zone, and that little bit of 2-3 zone caused some problems. David, what did you think of that move there? Did you notice that?
Miami has a smarter coach. Miami has a coach that understands when to turn it on and when to turn it off, and that makes a big difference. You don't play a zone the entire time. Pros understand that if you play it too long, but if you play it in spurts like they did tactically, it can be effective, and it was.
It really was. I was surprised by that. Bobby, were you surprised by that 2-3 zone they threw up at him?
I thought it was great, to be honest, because for one, they went to zone. They wasn't going in, so they kept keeping from driving, and they were shooting jumpers. So why not play a zone and push them out further? I just couldn't understand a professional team. And this is the other thing about the coming back from 3 down, Larry. This is the thing that I thought why Miami wasn't going to win the 7th game. The same thing happened every year with them. They play so hard. They play hard the whole year. Remember, they played in also. They played so many games, and then remember, Jimmy Buckets had hurt his ankle. And he haven't had a real lot of time to recuperate because who knows when he fall, they stay down there a little bit longer in the 4th quarter because they tired. So I thought they really were worn down, but once again, their mindset, I think, took them over the top because I think, like you said before, Chuck, I think Celtics have better talent.
I thought that, but I guess I got to stop saying that. Maybe they don't. Hey, Larry. So, what again, from your perspective, did that tactic, or what other tactic did you think Miami used to really cause, Boston to be befuddled?
Well, I think like the other two said, and like David said, they used it from time to time. They didn't just use it the first time in this game, right, but they picked their spots. And like Bobby was saying, they weren't even trying to pass in and pass out. All they were shooting with jump shots and missing. They pushed them out further. They kept missing. So, they did it long enough. I think that, Boston had a horrible game shooting. I thought once Tatum got hurt, I think Brown tried to do too much, and he was trying to get it all back on every shot. And then he had as many turnovers as he had baskets. And that was really kind of bad.
Let's talk about the guy.
One thing real quickly.
Go.
We've not talked about enough. Tatum and Brown, the 2 stars of the Celtics, the 2 all-pros, they're not consistent three-point shooters. They keep jacking up shots and they miss. And even when they drive, they miss. And that's my observation.
But
I'm going to put it right on them.
Was it Larry? I forgot what Chuck just said. This is a league of 3-pointers now. So that's what they're supposed to do. And if you don't know,
but you got to make them.
I know, but that's the game. It is the day. If you make them, you're a hero. If you don't, so what? But we're in the era. It's all about jacking up threes. That's not just the Celtics, but the thing that I fault the Celtics, when you miss, go inside.
Thank you.
I understand if they don't. I understand you want to take it. I understand now they drive all the way to the hoop and throw it out to the corner or the top of the key. I get that's a play now. But when it doesn't work, you got to be able to change up, man. And it's just like and then they had no energy. After they don't hit 3-pointers, it seemed like you could see their whole energy. It's like they give up. We're not on tonight. Well, we give this game. I just don't understand the attitude of a professional team like that. I swear.
So,
You know,
so let's and we're going to get back to Boston in a second, but let's shout out to old Caleb Martin, man. What a ball game he had.
Go get paid.
Larry. So, what did you think of Mr. Martin? And has he been playing like that all series and all year? Because I haven't followed Miami.
He's been playing like that. You know, this game was really interesting because as the other two guys have pointed out, we all pointed out that the two stars for the Celtics had off games. So did the two stars for Miami.
Bam and
Butler was like 12 for 28. The shots he made were at critical times, and Bam was a turnover machine.
He was.
The other thing is, back to your initial question, yeah, Martin has been pretty consistent, but so has Gabe Vincent. He got in foul trouble, and he had to sit a long time. In some way, they still won that game, which is
they didn't just win it. It was a blowout.
Oh, yeah.
It was a blowout.
They had two rotational players out that have been hurt the whole series, Tyler Hero and Oladipo. And then they benched another guy that was starting for them. Love. He didn't hit in the game.
It should have been. That was a dinosaur. Stop it.
They brought a guy in named Highsmith. A guy named Highsmith got 10 minutes and had a bucket.
Yeah. Hey, Bobby, Love got some rebounds and some great outlet passes early on in this series.
And you know what else he got?
And hit a couple of shots.
And that is very true, Larry. And you know what else he got? Some splinters in his butt.
Bobby, they were winning when he was playing earlier in the series. He didn't play later in the series.
He had a couple of good moments in the Knicks series as well.
The reason why he was on the bench.
Well,
so let's talk about. So let's talk about
that you guys have not mentioned yet, even though we're talking around it.
Strus
is Eric Spoelstra. Without him, Miami doesn't win. He's one of the best coaches in many years in the NBA, and he doesn't get enough credit.
He's got the wizard behind him, Pat Riley.
First of all, Pat Riley is not on the bench. He's not calling the plays. Give credit to Eric Spoelstra. I don't want to hear about Pat Riley. Give credit to Eric Spoelstra.
Oh, you don't think that has nothing to do about?
I think they both deserve credit. They both deserve credit. They work very well together.
I'm giving Eric Spoelstra most of the credit. That's what I'm doing. You guys can spread the credit around to Pat Riley, who sits high in the stands now, very regally, wearing the best suits in the world.
He runs that team.
So what? So what? But they got a heck of a coach. They got a heck of a coach, and I'm giving that.
And he made him, Larry. That guy was running the videos. Who taught him? Pat Riley. That's all I'm saying. I give him credit.
It's a team effort. It's a team effort.
I agree. From
top to bottom.
Even including the 40-year-old Hanslam. I know he didn't get into the games, but there's a role and there's something that he provides to that team
indeed.
Too.
Absolutely.
And, don't stop there. Hard. Alonzo Mourning, he had it too, right?
It's a culture. So here's the thing. Let's talk about this. This is a big one. So Mr. Tatum and Mr. Brown, their contracts are getting ready to wrap up. And oh, by the way, they made, all NBA and so forth. So Boston has a situation in front of them that both of them qualify for $300 million maximum contracts. Now, I'm not suggesting that they don't deserve those, but my question is, if you're a Boston, and now we've watched the two of them play together, one's 24, one's 26, would you break them up and try to find a more complementary player to go along with either Tatum or Brown? I'll start with you, David. You're shaking your head. What would you do?
You got to keep them together. I don't care how much money. The money is the money. Boston has the money. The NBA has the money. You keep two young players. Now, right now, they don't know how to win, but they're very talented players. Tatum will improve his jump shot, and so will Brown. They'll improve their ball handling. But right now, they're all pros. You absolutely do not break them up. You break them up, you might as well just break up the team. You have to keep Tatum and Brown. Have to.
Well, I don't say break them up for nothing. I'm not suggesting that or give one away. I'm saying does does the chemistry between the two of them seem to work? Bobby, what are your thoughts on that? And the reason I mentioned that is I looked at Dumars and Isaiah, or Scotty and Michael, or Clay and Steph.
Well, let
Are
me
these two
finish this
guys
point.
like that?
Let me finish this point.
Okay,
they've been in the conference finals now 4 times. They've been to the finals once. That's a pretty good pairing. They just haven't matured like we would like them to mature. They have many more years. One thing I heard this morning, just a reminder, Jimmy Butler's 33 years old. When he was 24 and 26, he was not the showstopper that he is now. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown can improve, should improve, and they deserve $60 million a year contracts because that's what the NBA pays.
Mr. Kinzer, that well put, Robert. I mean, well put, David. Bobby, what are your thoughts? Are you thinking along the same line as Mr. Burnett?
Well, before I go any further, since we give him credit where credit is due, I like to give credit to the producer and director that's up in the booth tonight, that's running in the back office, because he's on these lower thirds. That's amazing. He's doing a great job. Hands off to the director of the show tonight. Now back to the show. I just want to say, don't break them up. I think they need to get them some help. But David just said, he said 60 million or something like that a year. I don't know if I want to give them that much.
300 apiece.
Yeah, I know, but I would not like to break them up, Chuck. No, I think although I don't know, they don't click the way I would like for them to click, but they're still 2 superstars. So I would break them up. I mean, I would give them the money, because look around the league, man. Most teams they only got 2 star players. Back in the day, it was 3, 4, the bench. But now it's like at most you can get 2 stars on a team. So I
just again, I'm going to continue this theme, but I think Boston, it seems to me, again, not watching them every week, they are missing a point guard. Earl made this point a couple weeks ago. They're missing that point guard who can drive and dish, who can also score, who thinks like a point guard. It's not that Smart is a bad player, but I think they need, and I use the name as Isaiah Thomas, for example, with the Pistons. And again, I know he's a Hall of Famer, but he was a point. They're missing, to me, that piece. Larry, would you break that thing up and try to identify maybe more of a point guard to complement one of those two, or what would you do?
Well, I might try to get a point guard, but just like the other two, I'm not going to break those two up. And David raised some points that they've been to the finals, at least to the Eastern Conference Finals, like 3 times. They went at 22 and 23, 23 and 24, 24 and 25. All right. They're just getting to their prime now. I think a big part of Boston's problem was their stars were so young. I mean, they're 25 and 26 now, okay? The next 3 years, I think they're going to be hitting their prime, and they really will be stars, and they've got great experience. Now, can they add to their team? I think they got a pretty deep team. I just think those guys are going to mature. I thought they got there a year early last year to the finals, but I think the next couple of years, I wouldn't be surprised if they got back there pretty much with the same team they have intact, and I would expect those guys to be better.
They were going to White in the second half as if he was their star player, and I just found it interesting as a person again that doesn't watch them that maybe they need a veteran on that team and take one of those young guys and maybe get another. I don't know, but it seems like you guys don't want to break them up.
Hey, Chuck, I think you made a very good point, and this is across the NBA, across college. Check it out. Most teams don't have a good point guard, and don't be putting no Smart at the point guard. Don't be having no Draymond Green bringing the ball up. I'm telling you, it's a dying position, and I'm not talking about the new point guard that is a shooting point guard. No. I'm talking about the point guard of old that run the team. And look at the team. Look at the college teams that won, by the way. I want to give that a point. College teams that won, they had good point guards. And I don't see it in the NBA. I don't see that floor coach, which is the traditional point guard.
So we touched on it. we touched on it, and coaches have been let go in this, after their playoff runs this season specifically. Will the Boston coach survive, David?
Should he survive? Joe Mazzola, he was an assistant coach for a number of years. The general manager likes him, but I think they need an experienced head coach. Monty Williams is available. He'd be a great replacement. That doesn't mean Mazzola has not done a good job. He did the best he could do. He didn't even know he was going to be the head coach until all hell broke loose over Udoka. And so all he ever thought of, because he's a young dude, he's younger than several of the players, 35 years old, or maybe even younger than that. He doesn't have the gravitas to really impact the players. I think a more experienced coach, a more seasoned coach can get more out of Tatum and Brown as they mature into really being veteran and in their prime players. That's what I think.
So again, if you were the GM and or owner, you would make a move?
I would make a move, yes.
Yeah. Bobby?
I would make a move, but only, Chuck, who's out there? I'm not into this recycling stuff, Monty Williams. I like Monty, area boy. I got to be behind him, but who? But who? That's the only question I would ask. And right now I can't think of anybody. So why? You know what I'm saying? I just don't see who would. I'm trying to think of who would be a good coach for them. That's around.
Doc Rivers.
Oh man, come on!
He's already won for him.
He's wore his welcome out. Doc has wore his welcome out. And I think he knows it because he said he's going to take a break.
Larry, what if you were the president or general manager of the Boston Celtics? What would you do with your head coach at this point?
That's a tough question. I'm not sure. I think I still put more fault on the players than him. But it's funny because they were talking about firing him when they were losing to Philly. Then he won that series. When they were down 3-0, they were talking about firing. When they got 3-3, everybody didn't hear that anymore. So it looks like he's on shaky ground. So I guess I'm not sure if I would, but if I found someone better, I probably would. Because I think that team is on the cusp.
You have somebody replace him?
I'm sure there's some people out here. Nobody's coming to mind right now, but I'm sure there's guys out there. There's other assistant coaches that might even be better, like Sam Cassell or somebody like that. I don't know.
So again, we can, and then we'll spend just a couple more minutes on this, and then we'll move on. But did you guys think? I know this is silly, but I want to ask the question to this distinguished panel.
Before you
did it look to you that Miami was playing harder, 50-50 balls, better defense, tougher? Is that a real thing? And I'll start with you, Larry, and go around the other way.
Well, not necessarily. I think they just won that game. I think there's a reason no team has come back from 3-0. I think Miami plays hard every game, but they just played better than them.
Usually Vegas don't get it too wrong. Vegas had Boston a 7-point favorite in that game, so they got it wrong too.
That's
Bobby,
that's where people bet, Chuck. When they bet on one team, they're gonna raise the odds up.
Right. Bobby, do you think is that a real thing that a team at this level in a game 7 that I could say or people say that they played harder, that Miami played harder? Is that a real thing?
There's an old saying, Chuck. It goes, talent that works hard beats talent that doesn't work hard. Yes, they are outplayed. Miami is known to play hard. And that's the thing when you said something earlier about, who had the better talent. It doesn't matter if you had the better talent. If the talent doesn't play, it doesn't produce. I've seen lesser teams beat better talented players. And that's what it seems was going on with the Celtics, man. I don't believe the talent they have, and you can put that back on the coach because usually the coach is the one that brings out those abilities and helps those players to identify with the skills they had. So that definitely is the coach's fault, because that's what a coach is supposed to do.
Sure.
But they were outplayed as far as hard. And that's why that fourth game, which was supposed to be the sweep, man, human nature. Them guys, man, they were like, man, they had champagne getting ready to bust, they had balloons. In your mind, you like, man, they wasn't even prepared. I'm talking about Miami. And they already been playing up many games. They cruised, and that's why they lost that game. And I believe why they lost the next game too. But that fifth game, I gotta admit, the Celtics came out to play. That's the best I thought they played the whole series, that fifth game.
Right. David, is that a thing? Is that a real thing that professionals at this level in a game 7, when they know they pushed all the chips in, can we say that Miami played harder, tougher than Boston? Is that a thing?
I don't know if they played harder, they played smarter, and they played with more determination and will. Boston did not seem in the critical moments to have the will to win. Now they had the will to win those 3 straight games, but when it mattered, at home, crowd pumped up, excited, they wilted like flowers. And it was sad to see. And I don't want to say it was Jason Tatum hurting his ankle. It wouldn't have mattered if his ankle was solid. He would have faltered. He needs somebody else to help him get over that.
He did have 51 points against Philly in their game.
That was Philly. You're playing to get into the finals. You have the game. It's at home. You've won 3 straight. You know how to beat Miami. But when it mattered, they weren't there. Whether it was the coach, whether it was Tatum and Brown and the other supporting players for the Celtics, they didn't show up, and it matters.
But David, you, and I know you know this, being the superior athlete that you are.
Thank you so much for that compliment, Bobby.
I be sarcastic sometimes. But you should, David, you ever played with a sprained ankle? And I know you have.
I have.
That made a difference. The first play, man, I'm telling you, the only hope they had was Tatum. And he, I think that took some out of it.
He played the whole game, Bobby. He played the whole game.
Wasn't effective. You could tell.
Even when he wasn't hurt, Bobby, he was 0 for. There were times when he was 0 for 14. Now, you recall that his ankle wasn't hurting then.
Quarter.
Like the last 2 games in the fourth quarter, yeah. You could see that he scored a basket.
You said before, that was sorry.
That game, Boston came out there and jumped on them early on. Yes. And then we had 1 lead change. And that was it. 1 lead change the whole game.
Right.
Miami got the lead, something like 14 to 12 or something like that. And that was it.
It almost felt
like it was a game 7. The whole country was I was focused on it. I thought it was going to be a big night.
You know what they should have did? If they would have had Larry Bird walking to that joint at the beginning of the game, that would have turned that joint out, man.
First of all, Larry Bird is property of the Indiana Pacers.
Back in the league.
He just re-signed with the Pacers as a consultant. He don't care about the Celtics.
That's obvious.
He don't care about
he signed with the Celtics.
Why would he? Why would he be there?
And you answered it correct. Why would you? I can't stand it.
I thought I read that just the other day that right after the game he signed with the Celtics.
Yeah.
No.
As a consultant.
No, he signed with the Pacers.
With the Pacers?
Yeah. You talking about Bird?
Yeah.
Yeah, he signed with the Pacers.
Oh, I thought it was the Celtics.
Right. All right. Well, let's just put a bow on this whole thing, and let's talk about let's talk about the Denver Miami series coming up. But okay, we're going to do that. But I just want to make one last comment. I know everybody's saying that, and this is my last comment about this. Brown is great and this and that. I got to tell you something. I watched that dude. I ain't see it. So maybe he does right. All the other games he played, he must have been a star. That night I watched him, trash. I really was really disappointed. We're talking about Tatum a lot tonight in this show, when I thought Brown was
Did they make it to the finals last year? Oh yeah,
all the way to the NBA Finals.
Oh yeah. Oh okay.
He played bad in Game 5, but he played well in Game 6, which was the last game that they lost. Anyway,
He's young.
Enough of that.
Both of those guys have been kind of inconsistent last year and this year in playoffs, and I think it's because they're young.
Yes.
I think you give them a couple of years, they're going to be all right.
I agree, Larry.
But Larry, what I'm saying about Brown, I don't know what he's not big. He's not athletic. He doesn't handle the ball that well. He's not a great shooter. Like, what is special about him? Tatum, I've seen Tatum get 50. I've seen Tatum is long. He's only 24. I see things in Tatum. I can understand the inconsistency. I look at Brown, I just don't see it.
When you say he's not athletic, what are you seeing?
Yeah, because
Brown is athletic.
Yes.
Brown is very athletic.
Yes, he makes some incredible shots.
Yeah,
and he's good on the defensive end too.
Average 22.7 points.
I just didn't see it. That's not the guys. Maybe he has a twin. Okay.
He normally gets about 22, 23 points every day. Tatum is 35, then he's 15. And they average about the same amount.
That's why I think Jaylen Brown is actually better than Jason Tatum. And I'll stick with that to the end.
Okay. All right, let's talk about it. Here we go. We'll talk about David's Joker and the Denver Nuggets versus the Miami Heat. And Miami has knocked off Milwaukee. They've knocked off the Knicks. They've knocked off Boston. And everyone tells me that Denver is going to win this series. So let's start with you, David. Give me your first assessment, your initial assessment of that series. And then I'll ask you later who we think we're going to win. But give me your initial assessment, maybe a key or two.
Okay. Obviously, the game's not played on paper. Statistically, it should be the Nuggets. But the key to the Nuggets, obviously, is Nikola Jokic. He's the key. Then you got Murray. And then you build around them. Those two players have shown up. Unlike the two players for Boston, those two have shown up. And that's the key for the Nuggets.
Bobby, give me a key, and what do you think initially of that series?
Well, the key is the Joker, no doubt about it. And I'm sure Pat Riley is going to have something for
Spoelstra.
And Spoelstra, I give it to him, but Pat Riley knows how to counter somebody like that. I don't know if Spoelstra is ready, know that, but Pat Riley could give him some pointers. But that's the key.
Spoelstra is Pat Riley's coach. He let him coach. He coaches. He lets him coach now.
Of course he do, but where did he learn how to coach from? I'm not saying Pat Riley's the coach.
He's been the head coach of that team for 15 years, Bobby. They've won championships. They've been in finals.
And his mentor is Pat Riley. Please stop.
Okay.
But that's all I'm saying. Well. I'm just messing with y'all because I knew if I said that, it'd trigger you. But they going to come up with something devised to stop the Joker because the Joker is the key to that team. And if I was them, I would play some. I'll play some zone on the Joker.
How do you really feel, Richard?
You're right. That ain't gonna happen. Not to a Pat Riley, a Spoelstra's team.
So Larry, give me a couple of keys, and what's your first initial reaction to that series?
Well, here's the key. I think the two guys for the two stars, Joker and Murray, have been playing very well. Now, the rest of Miami's team has been playing well, but their stars haven't showed up. So I think for them to have a chance against Denver, Butler's going to have to play better, as is Bam. If they don't, they're going to have to play better to offset those other two, because those two show up every night. So it's going to. I still look for it to be a pretty competitive series.
Right. I learned my lesson with Denver, and I got to tell you, if Murray and Joker play like they did against the Lakers, but not just those two, but all the others around them, they all played well. And so if they play like they did against the Lakers, it could be tough on Miami. But so let's start with you, David. Who wins the series?
On paper, it's the Denver Nuggets, but the game isn't played on paper. I still say paper regardless. Nuggets should win. Something significantly wrong will have to happen for them to lose the game. I think the Miami Heat have played heroically. They've played really, really well. They've played beyond what they should have played with the injuries that they've incurred. If they had several of the players who were injured, they'd be a stronger team. But they've got will. And I cannot just say that they're going to get swept. But on paper, I'll say the Nuggets.
Minnesota won 2 games against the Nuggets in the playoffs, didn't they? In that series? But that's neither here nor there.
I'm not saying it's going to be a sweep. No.
Right.
No. I think Denver's going to win the series.
Bobby, who wins the series?
Well, coming behind that deep Aristotle that on paper, but paper don't play paper unless paper wins with paper. I like
rock, paper, scissors.
Paper, scissors, rock. What the hell, David? So to answer your question, I think Denver has a whole lot of talent that people don't talk about, man. They got some guys, man. Even though I'm not a Caldwell Pope fan, he does seem to, and I'm not an Aaron Gordon fan, and then the Bruce Brown fan. They got some talent. So I'm going with I think, and once again, this is what used to happen with Houston, by the way. With Harden.
What's up, Mike?
What's up, Mike? with Houston, same with Houston with Harden, would always peter off by the player because he'd be worn out. I think the same with Miami. They play so hard and they play so many games. I just think they're going to, and they got so much talent coming off the bench. I think they might wear Miami down. And how tall is Bam? Is that the tallest player they got?
I know.
He's the tallest one that they
6'9".
And that means he's 6'8".
Which means he's 6'8". Or 6'7".
They ain't got enough for them, man. I just don't see it.
So who do you pick, Bobby?
Denver.
Larry, who do you pick and why? I know it's tough for you.
Well, Denver looks like the obvious choice, but so did Milwaukee, so did Boston.
I wouldn't go that far.
Especially in Game 7.
Obvious. I didn't think Celtics was obvious.
Here's the pattern. And I'm going to go with Denver. This is why. They lost 1 game against Milwaukee. They lost 2 games against the Knicks. They lost 3 games against the Celtics. So I think Denver will win in 7. They'll lose 4 against them. But I tell
you, we
entertaining series. But Bam and Butler have to play well every game. If they don't play, even if they do play well every game, kind of like LeBron and Davis did, it's still gonna be hard to beat those guys.
And didn't Bam and Butler have 15 turnovers in 1 game? Yeah, Butler had 9. I'm just telling you, Butler had 9.
The game that Gabe Vincent didn't play, they both had a horrible game.
Yeah,
but Butler was stinking up the joint in Game 7.
Yeah, but I'm just saying you can't do that against.
And Bam really was.
You can't do that. Bam, Butler had 9 turnovers, by the way, and Bam had 6, 15. That ain't happening against Denver. No, I'm sorry. That will not happen. You will not win a game.
Well, I tell you,
they didn't beat Boston with that either.
I tell you, Brown, Porter,
Gordon,
all 3 played really, really well against the Lakers. And quite frankly, this is what I'm saying. And this, I hate to keep bringing this back up. And this is what I'm saying about Jaylen Brown. Jamal Murray in that series against the Lakers, he looked special to me. I didn't see that out of that guy Brown. That's all I'm saying. That's
Well,
what I
you
was
get
talking.
leave Jaylen Brown. Take Jaylen Brown out of your mouth now.
Well,
I mean, he played pretty well against Philadelphia when they played.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. And those games Boston won, he did all right. This is game 7. Nobody showed up for Boston in game 7.
He didn't catch my attention like that. Jamal Murray was co-MVP in that Lakers series. Jamal Murray showed up. I mean,
but
Martin should have been MVP. Martin should have been MVP of this last series.
I think Caleb Martin should have been MVP. But Chuck, by the way, Murray got beat up those last minutes in the games. That kind of shocked me how the Lakers locked him up so easily. Locked him up. I didn't like
33.
Huh?
He averaged 33 in that series.
Yeah, but I'm talking about when they needed him to score.
Hey, they double teamed him. That's what they
did not double team. They had LeBron on him. Stop that. LeBron stopped him. They did not double team him.
People were cheating on it. No matter what direction he moved, somebody came up there.
That's not true, Larry. The game they won, the last game, the game before that, I'm telling you, I watched him play. When it came down to the final minutes and quarters, he couldn't get his shot off. I understand he could score 30 and all that stuff when it count. Remind me of Dwight Howard. He do all that stuff in 3 quarters, never did shit in the, excuse me, I'm trying to stop cursing, never did squat in the 4th quarter. I like Murray, don't get me wrong, but I'm not totally sold on him because to be the man, you gotta come through on the key critical time.
Okay, remember, he's not the man on that team, too. Okay.
Yeah, but he's the other man.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into a bit of the controversy. Let's get into a little bit of the controversy. Larry's going to get upset with me, and that's fine. We'll just deal with it. And that is this. All right, guys. And I know David's going to have strong opinions about this, but I'm still bringing it up. All right. The Denver Nuggets are playing the Miami Heat. Now, these 4 guys in this show, we love basketball. We're going to watch. But is America going to watch that series? Boy, David, thoughts on that?
Let me just say this. For those who choose not to watch the Denver Nuggets against the Miami Heat, they're fools. The NBA is special this year. They've had some very special moments. If you cannot watch Denver against Miami, you're not a basketball fan. You're not an NBA fan. You are a fickle pickle. And I'll leave it at that. It's kind of pathetic. I don't want to hear it. If it was the Denver football team against the Miami football team, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. Right. But it's Denver basketball team against the Miami basketball team, and we're having this discussion. It's ludicrous. Watch the damn finals and watch players play.
People say baseball teams are regional. Except for maybe the Yankees and Dodgers. So I'm just wondering if this is. Anyway, Bobby, what are your thoughts? Will America watch Miami versus Denver?
Well, first, I'd like to say the reason why I come on this show because of the professionalism. And I don't know if y'all just noticed, Chuck, as you were saying it, the lower thirds came out, bam, what you were saying. I'm like, God, that's why I come on this show, because of the damn quality of this show. But back to the man from the little teeny market, man, he's got a little chip on his shoulder. The Indiana little teeny market man who comes from that little teeny sports place that has a little teeny market, that's pretty biased. He doesn't like the major, but I'm telling you, it's all about the markets. And Denver is not that big of a market, and neither is Miami. And if you like basketball, you will watch. But I think sometimes it does play to the size of the market. And that's why they get the big bucks. Matter of fact, sometimes they get a bigger piece of the pie than other people because of that. So that's just the way it is, Dave. You're going to have to live with it.
Well, like the point I made earlier, if it's the football team, there's no question about ratings. Right now, the highest rated football team is in Kansas City, Missouri. And we'll leave it at that.
That's the highest rated, Dave? You sure
Absolutely.
You got that right?
Absolutely. Right now, it's the Kansas City Chiefs.
You can't say that because.
Oh, I can say it. I said it.
Not if you're just trying to make a point. You got to be factual.
Oh, I'm factual.
Okay. Yeah, you are fat.
So Larry, so I know I know you've been waiting for the ball to come down the middle on this whole question. So what is your thoughts? Will America watch? And I guess does it matter?
I think
Thoughts?
David's exactly right. And I'm from a bigger market than him, Bobby. He's exactly right. Basketball fans will watch it.
Right.
These are not the glamour teams. They may, my buddy Mike said the same, exactly right. They have a hard time drawing casual fans, but because they're not the glamour teams. But what will happen is, I bet you Denver will be a glamour team, just like Memphis kind of rose to become one after last year. I think some of the casual fans will get to see them a little more, pay more attention to them. But as far as the series goes, I think if it's 2-2, I think a whole lot of people will watch. I think Sunday's game was the highest game TNT had ever, or at least playoff game or something like that.
The Boston Miami.
Yeah,
what was
Boston
that?
and Miami, or the last game, Game 7.
Game 7.
That was their highest game. And Boston and Miami. So I guess people watch close things early on. I don't know if they'll watch it early on, but yeah, let it be, let Miami win the first game or something like that. I think people will tune in.
Right. It's going to be interesting, and maybe it doesn't matter and so forth. But I do believe that you earn it on the field. Both these teams have earned the opportunity to go for the is it still called the Larry O'Brien Trophy, or is it the Bill Russell Trophy?
They changed it. I think it's
you know what was really interesting?
Bill Russell.
It was really interesting. The Denver Nuggets won the championship in LA, and the MVP trophy was the Magic Johnson trophy. And then Miami won it in Boston, and the MVP trophy was the Larry Bird trophy.
Yeah, that was ironic. And not only in Boston, the other trophy.
Oh, Bob Cousy.
The Bob Cousy.
Yeah, the championship trophy was the Bob Cousy trophy.
Yeah, that was ironic.
Well, look, we're going to get close to wrapping this up, but I want to touch on a couple of other things before we sign off. Unless you have anything additional that you'd like to add about the Miami Nuggets series, which again, it kicks off tomorrow night. So unless you have something additional, I've got a couple of things I just want to briefly touch on, and then we'll try to land this puppy on time tonight, which is not my MO normally. Anybody else have anything to say about the finals coming up?
Go ahead.
Looking forward to it. That's all.
All right. So let's just talk about, before we head out, I saw where Nurse is going to get to Philadelphia. A nurse is replacing the doctor in Philadelphia.
That was pretty.
And
pretty
do we care about that? Do we have any thoughts about that?
Ridiculous.
Larry?
I guess Nurse is okay. They need to replace James Harden.
They say Van Sleep might be the guy that they might replace him with.
I think James Harden has stuck around too long. He gets too much credit. He can't play anymore.
Right.
It's not going to matter if they're relying on him a lot.
Right.
Let me just say this: Nick Nurse is an upgrade over Doc Rivers. This version of Doc Rivers.
Ooh, wow.
It's no woo, Bobby. Stop. Just stop.
I agree.
You know Nick Nurse is better than Doc Rivers right now.
Oh, right now. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay.
The Doc Rivers of 2008 isn't walking through that door. In fact, he hadn't walked through any doors in more than 14 years.
That team was
certainly not walking through the door in Philly anymore.
Well, I don't think he's gonna be walking through that Boston door either. How about you, Mr. Kinzer? Any thoughts about Nurse becoming the head coach of Miami? Of Philadelphia. And I also heard that Monty might get the Detroit job, because I've heard some rumblings there as well. I don't know why.
That's a curse. Job. You get that job. That's a curse. Jesus Christ, coming out of Detroit. Woo! Wouldn't wish that on nobody. Nick Nurse, not a Nick Nurse fan. He's okay, but like I said at the top of the show, there's not like a top. I'm talking about top quality coaches like back in the day. To me, they're just all right. You know what I mean? Like they all like Mazzola to me. You know, they're just all right. So I'm not a fan. Philly, Harden, Harden, and Kevin Durant showed me this year that they went into playing. You could look at the way they played, and Harden is there too. I think he's ready to just because he doesn't play with the same energy anymore, and neither does Kevin Durant.
Well, it's interesting. Harden had a couple of games in that series against Boston. It was like the game that Embiid didn't play. Harden looked great.
Yeah.
But then down the stretch, in terms of counting on him in games near the end, he didn't look so great. And there's talk that he might go to Houston. I don't know what that's all about, but yeah. So we'll see what happens with Philly. How about you, David? Any thoughts on that? Nurse to Philly.
Nurse is, I think, a better coach right now than Doc Rivers. He will help the 76ers, but I don't think the 76ers, as long as Joel Embiid is not fully in shape. Now, I know Larry always gets me for fat shaming players.
Oh, is that what you're doing now?
I am fat shaming him.
The league MVP.
He's not in the shape that he deserves to be. I know he was MVP, but he can be even better. When the rubber met the road, he wasn't there for Philly. Doc Rivers lost his job thanks to Joel Embiid. Doc Rivers had some other issues as well.
I don't know about that.
But Joel Embiid did not play well when it mattered. And I think Nick Nurse can get him to play better.
That small forward on that Philadelphia team's not as good either. Tobias Harris. I think he is up and down.
Well, he's only getting 5 or 6 shots a game too.
Yeah, but he's getting about 30 million.
35 million.
Well, maybe if Harden didn't dribble the ball till about 2 seconds left of the shot clock, maybe some other people could get some shots.
Amen.
All right, let's hit some quick things, and then we'll go to closing comments and try to wrap this up. So last weekend in Washington, D.C., I'm just going to make a comment about this. The Live Golf Tournament was played at Trump National. Nobody came. And Varner, I think he's the only,
Harold
Varner. I think he's the only black golfer on their tour. And anyway, he won the tournament. Won $4 million. I thought that was significant enough. I wanted to just mention that. I'm not suggesting that you guys would have any thoughts on that, but I thought that was pretty cool.
I'll take a swing at that. Varner's a decent player. He went to the Live Tour after having kind of denounced the Live Tour, but he went for the money. Just about every player on the Live Tour is making at least $20 million a year. And that does not include prize money from tournaments that they win. They're all guaranteed big dollars. But in the end, who gives a darn about golf?
Whoa. I do.
Only about the majors.
I do, because I stay involved with golf simply because of the black caddies. No, okay, I'm just
stop.
I'm pulling forward.
Here's the thing about Varner. And this is my last comment on that, is that when he was on the PGA Tour, they played 4 days. And for 3 games, there have been times when 3 days, he was right there.
Hanging. Yeah.
And because the Live tournament is only 3 days, I think that played to his advantage.
Well, let's just see how many more tournaments Mr. Varner wins. I'm going to say he's going to win maybe 1 or 2 more.
All right. The other sporting event over the weekend was the Indianapolis 500. And we have a distinguished panel member who was at that event, who lives in Indianapolis. I just wanted to make mention of
representing.
I thank you for the shout out to the greatest spectacle in racing, and I'll leave it at that.
330,000 fans showed up for that. Wow.
500 laps.
200.
So a couple of, I guess, for 183 or so.
200 laps around a 2.5 mile oval. Let me educate you, Bobby.
Well, there you go, right there, David. They call it Indianapolis 500, and they only do 200 laps.
200 laps around a 2.5 mile oval. and that equals 500 miles. Let's do the math. I just did it for you.
Thank you.
Bringing the knowledge. One thing about this show, they bring the knowledge.
Tyson. Thank you for bringing it.
All right. Well, we're getting ready to wrap it up.
Before you go, can you just help me real quick? What is the highlight of it? Because I've never been to a NASCAR. What is the
First of all, it's not NASCAR. It's IndyCar.
Right. The IndyCar. Gotcha.
IndyCar.
Oh, IndyCar. Oh, Indy.
Oh, you know what stop it.
Chuck, bring your show back together, man.
I know. I've lost it, haven't I? All right. Well, we're getting ready to wrap this thing up. And we'll start with you, Larry. Any closing comments?
I'm just looking forward to the NBA Finals. I think it ought to be a pretty interesting contest. Again, it seems like Denver should win, but I can't count Miami out. So looking forward to it starting tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it as well, too. Robert Kinzer, any closing comments?
Big Bob to you. Hey, so don't you go there, Chuck. So my closing comments is I can't prove this, but I'm really having issues with now the betting being legalized in college sports and professional sports. I'm really, because it's so, what is it, the word, nefarious, this betting that goes on, like the referee now that they have, in question because you can shave so easily here. Stephon Curry throws the ball out of bounds with nobody there on the floor, and that changes the whole betting. I have an issue with betting being involved with sports now. I really do, y'all.
It's not going away.
It's not going away, but my question is, I think it may have some effect on it. I can't prove it, but I'm worried about it.
Yeah. It's entertainment. It's not going away. Country bets like crazy. You got it on your phone
money.
now.
And big, I'm talking about big money.
David, any closing comments, my friend?
Yes, indeed. I just very quickly, just to reiterate, the Denver Broncos are no more important than the Denver Nuggets. Let's hope that real basketball fans, including the casual fan, will find something to watch of importance in the NBA Finals, regardless of the markets that are playing. I hope and pray that that's what happens. One of our viewers just reminded us that TNT had the biggest rating that they've ever had for an NBA game, and that was a blowout. Let's hope that ABC/ESPN has a big rating for the series coming up starting tomorrow. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, you've talked about Joker on this show for a couple of years now, and he definitely had a coming out party against the Lakers, and this is another big stage for him to do his thing. So I think that's fascinating on a lot of levels. And with the support team with like Murray, and then with Miami success so far in the Eastern Conference, I do find this up-and-coming finals to be intriguing and interesting, and I will be locked in. So
Amen.
I don't care if they play, if it's Denver versus Miami. I think it's going to be an interesting match. Well, listen, you guys, as always, you bought it again. This is 3 years in a row, week after week after week. I do appreciate the time you've taken and the insights. Thanks, America, for watching, as you do every week. And we'll see you next week. The finals will have started. We'll talk about that. Again, good night. Have a great rest of the week. Thanks.